What's up, Facebook family, and wherever if you're catching the replay and you're not on Facebook with me live, welcome back to the replay. So, my name is Marci Batiste. I'm the founder and executive director of 9 Seconds. We are a progressive nonprofit organization focused on fostering freedom for women by equipping them with the resources and the training, things that they need to reclaim their independence and secure their safety and their success. And this morning, I did a post about your emotional attachments giving power to words, right? And a few people inboxed me and they're like, okay, yeah, that sounds good, but what did you really mean? So I wanted to come on and I wanted to give sort of an explanation of that and give you sort of a bigger, broader picture, because it literally was just like 2 sentences. I dropped the post this morning and it was on my mind and on my heart. But I understand now that I probably need to explain that a little bit better. So let me give you an example of what I mean by you give words power with your emotional, what the post said, you give words power with your emotional attachment to them, and without the feelings that you have towards the words, they hold no value in your life, essentially, right? And what I mean by that, so let me give you an example. When I was growing up, I'm biracial. My mom is white and my dad is black. And growing up, I grew up in Iowa in the late 60s, early 70s. Well, really all my life. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. This is when this happened. And so I used to get bullied a lot. Bullying is a whole other topic for another conversation, but I used to get bullied a lot. And one of the things that people would say to me was they would be like, you're a half-breed. Okay. Like, I had no association and no emotional attachment to the word. In fact, I didn't understand until much, 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 much later in life that it was even a derogatory term. So although I knew that when they said it, they were trying to be insulting, it didn't insult me because I had no emotion tied to it. That word had no meaning. It held no value with me. There was no association and no correlation between anything derogatory and the word half-breed. And in fact, I actually, in some ways, I guess I kind of thought maybe it was a good thing. I used to love, Sonny and Cher. And Cher in particular had a song called Half-Breed. And so in the song, she's talking about how she was half white and half Cherokee, I believe. And she was talking about how in the Indian culture, they called her white and white girl and white bread, whatever. And in the white culture, they called her Indian squaw. And across both lines, they called her a half-breed. And she's talking about how she never really felt like she fit in to either environment. She didn't feel like she fit in on the white side. She didn't feel like she fit in on the Indian side. For me, being biracial with mixed parents, I related to that. And so in my mind at that time in life, I associated the word half-breed with being half one race and half another race, which essentially is all it means. And so because I didn't have any sort of emotional attachment to it, I didn't have any kind of emotional reaction to the word held no power over me. You couldn't hurt me with that word. You still, even now that I know that it's supposed to be a derogatory term, I have to say, I even have to frame it that way. Like, it's supposed to be a derogatory term because I don't receive it that way. It doesn't sit that way with me. And so I was able to, although they were trying to use it to bully me and to gain power over me, that word had no power or control because it held no value, because I had no attachment to the word, right? And this is the same strategy that I had to use with domestic violence. In particular, one of my exes was particularly verbally abusive, and very, very narcissistic. And I don't know if you've ever experienced being with a narcissistic abuser, or not, but it is one of the most soul-ripping, gut-wrenching, value-stripping relationships you can be in. It takes, a narcissistic abuser will take everything from you. Everything. And they use your lack of self-worth and your lack of self-value to maintain power and control over you. And so, to give you an example of what that looks like, right? I've always struggled with my weight ever since I was a little kid. It's not a secret. But I used to be extremely sensitive to being called fat. I own the word now, so I use it all the time and I joke about it, and it's my word. I don't have a negative emotional attachment to it. So if you call me a fat this or that, I'm like, and yeah, I need to lose a few pounds. It's no big deal to me, so you can't hurt me with that word. I give that word no power. I have no emotional attachment to it. I'm not giving it any energy or any investments, any emotional investments from me. And so what would happen was my ex would call me names, tell me I was this or that, I was stupid, I was fat, was, ugly, I was, I couldn't cook well, but like, even that didn't make sense because it was, other people were telling me the opposite, right? But because I placed a high value on his opinion, then by extension, I placed a high value on the words that he used. So when he used certain words against me, they freaking hurt, like freaking cut to the core, because I placed value there. I had an emotional attachment to him and by extension to the words that he used. And so when he would say certain things to me, it would hit me in a certain type of way because of the value that I placed on it. And so in order for me to break free from that relationship and from that way of thinking, I had to remember what I did all those years ago when they called me half-breed. I had to, it took a while, but I finally associated fat, ugly, stupid, bitch, whatever, with half-breed, right? And so because I understood, like, oh, like they said it to be mean and they said it to hurt me, but it never hurt me. Why was that? And so once I figured out that connection, I was able to start breaking free from the narcissism. I was able to start breaking free from my self-esteem issues. I was able to be able to reclaim some of those words. Like I said, like I use the word fat all the time. Like, I'm fat now, as a matter of fact. So I had to reclaim and place a new association with those words in order for them to stop hurting me. Once he could no longer hurt me with his words, he couldn't hurt me other than physically. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is making sense. There was no, he lost power and control when I took back some of those words and I took back ownership of some of those words. And so you can do that with everything. Like take the word bitch, for instance. And I apologize if there's kids watching this, but let's just keep stuff real. Like, there's kids out here killing themselves because they're being bullied, and bullying amounts to a lot of times name calling, right? And so we have to, not only for ourselves, but for our kids' sake, teach people how to apply the power of words and what words really are. Words are words. They hold no power if you take control of that and you release your attachment from it. And so what happens is we want people to like us. We care about what they think. But like, for instance, if you're arguing with someone and you're a woman, you're arguing with someone, let's say a boyfriend, husband, significant other, whatever, and they call you a bitch in anger. But then you're out with your homegirls and they're like, bitch, listen, bitch, please. There's a different, it's the same word. And that's what I want people to understand. Like, it's not the word that holds the power. It's your emotional investment that you're giving to the word. So you're creating the sense of power. You're giving over, you're turning over control based on how you associate mentally and emotionally to that word. Because when your homegirl says, bitch, listen, bitch, look, there's nothing, like there's no harm, there's no shade, there's no foul, there's no nothing. There's no attachment to it. But if your significant other is in an argument with you and they say it trying to hurt you, we allow that word to hurt because of our association and our emotional attachment to them, and by extension to the words that they use against us. The words that they say to us somehow matter more. And so you have to realize that you hold 100% control over what words mean to you, right? They can mean absolutely anything to the whole rest of the world. But if you reclaim control over that world or over that word, then you control the impact and you reclaim your independence from it, right? And so when we're talking about fostering freedom for women, this is a huge tool, guys. This is a huge tool that you can use to reclaim your independence by taking and reclaiming ownership over words. They're just words. Understanding that just because someone calls you something doesn't mean that's what you are, right? There's a saying that I love, and I think it was Dr. Maya Angelou who said it, but it says, she says, and I'm pretty sure that it was her, she says, I may have done the things you said I've done, but I'm not who you say I am, right? And that is, in a nutshell, what this is all about, is reclaiming ownership over words. Just like you reclaim ownership over your experiences, just like you can reclaim ownership over your past. You can reclaim ownership over things that are painful by rewriting the narrative that you associate to them and taking back your emotional investments. I hope this is making sense to somebody, and I hope that it frees somebody and you can try and use this strategy and just think about, it was all the way back. Like literally, I was probably, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, my whole childhood. People like half-breed this, half-breed that. I mean, eventually the word kind of dwindled away, and some people still use it, but I don't really think anybody really uses it too much anymore. There's enough other derogatory terms that people like to use, but that for me was like when I realized that I could control the meaning of words in my life. It was so freeing. It was so freeing, and it set me free from a number of different things. It set me free from my narcissist. It set me free from my negative self-talk. It set me free from a whole lot of self-sabotaging behaviors. It changed how I think about myself based on what I think about words. And so a lot of times I'll use words that some people are like, oh my gosh, like, don't say that about yourself. It's me. It's me and it's my word, and I said it and I can say it, right? And so think about your emotional attachment. When somebody says something that hurts you, I want you to think about, is it the word that's hurting, or is it your attachment to the person who said it? And I would venture to guess that 9 out of 10, if not 12 out of 10 times, it's going to hurt because of who said it, not because of what they said. Because if a complete stranger calls you a name on the street, for the most part, there's no attachment to it, and you're going to be able to just brush it off and keep it moving, right? Now, I granted, people can catch you on the wrong day at the wrong time and it pops off, but for the most part, understanding that you control what role words play in your life, how you receive them, and how you attach to them, then you can reclaim your freedom from those words. And that's the biggest gift that you can give yourself, particularly if you're in relation with somebody who's narcissistic. And it's not always just a significant other. There's narcissistic parents, there's narcissistic siblings, there's narcissistic coworkers, right? And so when you deal with a person who's like that, hey Debbie, I really want you to think about their relationship to you, how you relate to them, how are you in relation with them? And then I want you to think about the word or words that they used, and then I want you to think about how it feels and where it sits with you. Because 9 out of 10 times, and then ask yourself, is it the word that's bothering me, or is it the person who said it? Because usually it's because we expect that person to associate and to interact and engage with us in a different manner than they are, right? So I hope this makes sense, guys. If you missed any of this message, please check it out on the replay. It'll of course be on my YouTube channel, Marci Batiste, or youtube.com/Marci Batiste is the web address there. And if you need to hit me up, hit the DM. Hit me on marcibatiste.com on the contact page, or on 9seconds.org on the contact page. So that's it for me today, guys. I hope you have an amazing Friday. Get ready for a wonderful weekend. I hope for all of our veterans that you had an amazing day yesterday and you got all the free dennies that your heart could just could handle. But have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Take care, guys.